Welcome to the Wrote by Me podcast, where we discuss where you have been, what you have done, and where you are going with our guests. We hope to provide you, our listener, a new perspective and person to connect with. Today, we have Jessica J. Lo Perez. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Great. It's always nice to connect with awesome people like you. So I'm glad to be here for sure.
Oh, thank you. So I like to get started, so I purposefully don't give an intro. I love for people to be able to give their own. So tell the people more about you, where you've been and how you got here.
Well, first of all, people are going to be saying, J-Lo in the middle there. Like, where'd that come from, right? So that's the moniker I have been gifted, if you will, being 4'11", the
Oh, wow.
shortest Jessica you probably have met. So Jessica Lowe, right? So my best friend, she's about 5'8", and she
Oh,
likes to
wow.
wear 4-inch heels. So she's J high, I'd be J low, and it stuck about 12 and a half, 13 years ago. And so fast forward to where I am and who I am. I start with that story because it's super important. It's a bit about who I am, always coming from a smaller space physically, but having to create confidence and self-esteem and overcoming adversity of being in the smaller nature, but being an athlete. So think about that. 4'11" basketball, volleyball player. What? So who I am is that I have become what I call a supersizer. And we're going to talk about that a lot today. I said I supersized my personality, my gifts, who I want to be, and I help others do the same thing in two areas, in their health and their wellness. So when you say, where have you been? I've been in a space where people wanted to push me down and kind of hit a ceiling and say, this is as far as you can go. And I'm like, not going to happen. And so where I've been, my experiences have been everything from a coach, an athletic director, teacher early in my career. I've also been a Parks and Rec professional. I worked with the government. I worked in Parks and Rec here in the city of Tampa. And so I transitioned my skill sets from understanding that you've got to be a team player from the sports world into the coaching world, into the Parks and Rec world. And now, about 10 years ago, I ripped a Band-Aid and said, you know what, I want to do this for myself and I want to be an entrepreneur. So I've learned how to supersize what I want out of life. And health has always been something I've been super passionate about, coming from a sports and athletic environment, that I knew I wanted long-term health, not just for myself, but for other people I care about. So I'll dive into that in a little bit. But that space of health has been super important to me, but so has being able to kind of take your finances back and how to do that effectively so that you can have long-term health as well as in your financial health too. So those two platforms are the things that I really sit in. So I'm excited about just sharing more and leading by example with you in this idea of the Wrote by Me podcast. Like, what does that
Yeah.
even talk about? So I've
Yeah.
supersized myself in the author world too. So yeah, I've got a lot to share, and I just, I'm here to explore and share with you and your listeners
Oh, yeah.
that there is a better way. We can be better, and we can supersize ourselves together. So that's a little bit
Awesome.
about me.
Well, I think supersizing is absolutely incredible idea. I have always been one of the larger people, so I'm about 6'2", and so from but what's crazy is that playing basketball, I was always the shortest person on my team, so I always felt like I was short, and so
Yes.
people always, I never got supersized, but people always said that I was large for my size. So it's cool to hear a nickname like that. I'll be honest, I didn't realize J Lo was going to have that meaning. That's actually really cool. Um,
Yeah, it was pretty cool when I was gifted the name. It was a good
yeah.
friend of mine. She's like, "Listen, that's your best friend. She's pretty tall. She's like a J high." And then she looked at me. She goes, "And you're J low."
And that was the beginning?
And that was the beginning. That was
That's
the
awesome.
beginning. Yeah.
That's incredible. So I you talked about a couple of different things you have going on. I would love for you to share sort of everything. I know a little bit about your story, but I mean, I think it would be incredible for you to share what all you have going on and like how you even got to some of those things.
Yeah. So when we say, let's start at the very beginning. How I began that entrepreneur space was literally when I said hit the ceiling. I
Hmm.
mean, I did. So
Hmm.
I was in Parks and Recreation. I was a manager, 500 people working underneath me, all the things, right? I had followed the track. My track was I was the first one in my family to go to college. So that was a big thing. First one in my family to get the big jobs, the real stuff, right? Moving up the track really quickly. And then literally our director left for the department and I get asked, why don't you go apply for that position? Like, and I think I'm going to get this thing. They asked me to apply
Yeah.
and then I don't get it.
Oh,
So it's like, I
yeah.
mean, seriously, it was that feeling like punch in the gut. I've done all the things right. I did. And so when I asked for an interview with the person who made, and I said, I need to know why. Talk to me. And they're like, you were awesome, Jess. You were awesome. But you know what? You don't have experience. So, well, how do I get experience as the director if you don't give me the position? I got
Right.
to leave the city to come back. Like it didn't make any sense. It was like this dichotomy.
Yeah.
And so it gets you thinking like, man, so it turned my mindset to say maybe all this effort and all this work for somebody else is not what I should be doing. And there's nothing wrong. I've got awesome people who are in Parks and Rec and have been there for 30 plus years, or teachers who've been in their space like I used to be for 30 plus years and they love what they're doing. See, I'm a servant leader at heart. So I believe in serving, but I also believe that when you get told you're not good enough multiple times or put more on your plate and get paid less than somebody else, that's not okay.
Mhm.
And it
Okay.
started kind of grating on me. I don't know how else to say that. It really did. And so I guess when it hurts hard enough, you make other decisions. And so I just walked in and I said, here's my 2 weeks. And they said, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
What could I ask you sort of a digging question? Because I also left a 9 to 5 after a certain point, and I know that it's really tough, right? Like it almost feels like you are giving up some of the security that you had
100%.
at a point. And so how maybe did you, for maybe the person out there, how did you get to the point where you were willing to kind of give that 2 weeks notice to, like, I guess everything that you had known up to that point?
So I love that you asked that question because I had begun kind of digging that well that they talk about before and laying some foundation. First of all, was in the
Mm,
relationships that I had built.
okay.
Through my relationships and people knew who I was, I knew I was uncomfortable, right? There was probably about 2 months before that 2 weeks went. So I had about 2 months of kind of thought process, right? Of kind of saying, okay, I don't know that I can do this. So I'm wrestling in my own head. I'm not telling anybody. I think I'm telling my family, guess what I'm doing? Right. But I really was thinking, this is not for me. And
Okay.
it was going, my father worked for the city for 25 plus years. My
Wow.
mom still collects on his pension because he's been gone for 20 years and she still gets to collect a monthly pension from my father who put in that work. So I believe in that space. It just wasn't the right space for me,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
I kind of ran my gamut with that particular career. And so when you say, what did you do? I started leaning into my relationships that we had built. See, I'm all about connections. I'm in a book actually
Mhm,
called Concrete Connections with Charles Woods. He's
mhm,
amazing, right?
mhm,
And it's all about solid relationships. I believe that I became a connected catalyst for more for myself. That's the title of my chapter because to me, when you connect and you can use your relationships in a positive way, not using for just use, but using to move the needle forward for yourself and for the other person on the other side. So I had somebody reach out to me and say, "Hey, listen, I hear that you're leaving or you made this. Would you love to be a speaker? We do some things with young athletes." And I was like, "What?" So they sought me out.
mhm,
See, now I'm attracting things that I want in my life. So that was one piece.
mhm,
The other piece that gave me the courage is that I had already dug the well, and how I dug the well was becoming a part of a really cool community of other like-minded entrepreneurs who believe in health and wellness. So through my network marketing journey, I had already laid the groundwork. Originally, it was I just want to get healthy. And so I started taking some products that I thought were going to help me healthy, right? But then when I realized I'm not the only one who needs to be healthier, my gut needs to be healthy and my brain needs to be healthy. I need to be focused. Oh, I got some inflammation running in my body. I was taking products that I knew I believed in. How about I share that with somebody else? And when I began doing that, I created leverage.
mhm,
I created an income that was not just my own income, but other people on my team. So I had started that on the
mhm,
side hustle, side gig, right? While I was working for the city, thinking I was going to be at the city for a while, not knowing that this was going to play out. Okay. And then a couple years later, it plays out. So 3 years into that network marketing journey, I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to lay the groundwork. I can see traction beginning to build.
Mhm.
So if I do want to step away, look what I've got. I've got this relationship with this partner who says, "Hey," I say partner, that nonprofit that reached out to me that said, "I want you to be a speaker for us."
Right, right.
And oh goodness, I also have this little bucket over here of leveraged income that's coming
Mhm.
in every month, right?
Yeah.
So as that begins to happen,
Mhm.
guess what happens? Now I say, I guess I can make this decision.
Yeah.
I can make
100%.
this decision. So it is a bit of planning. It's not an overnight success like people think.
Mhm.
It really is. Do I believe I can? And the answer is like, you don't know unless you try.
Yeah. 100%. That is, that is the number one thing. Sometimes we feel like we have a bit of security because of a job that we have or
Yeah.
whatever the case is. And, I've been in situations where the company had to make a decision because it was going to be the company or me in this case.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of layoffs going on right now in
Yeah.
the tech community and a lot of different spaces. So, it's one of my favorite books by Alan Watts is The Wisdom of Insecurity. And one of the points he makes is sometimes the more secure you become in an idea, oftentimes you become insecure because you're trying to protect it. And we don't recognize that even that security is a bit of an illusion. So, you should just pick in some ways your insecurity. You did take a big leap, but you also, I think the big thing you talked about is you laid groundwork before
Yes.
you made the decision. I know some people who made the decision but didn't really know what they were going to do after, and that can kind of leave you out to dry. That's a tough situation to be in. Um,
Great.
I want to ask, so you talked about how you actually are part of a book, and I
Mhm.
know that a lot of people who listen actually are interested in writing books or just have no idea where to start. So how did that end up coming about? I'd love to learn more about your process.
Well, that book is actually a fifth book I'm in, fourth book I'm in.
Okay, awesome.
It's hard for me to keep track, and I tell you why, because I'm in a book series that started the whole process.
Okay.
The book series is by Chip Baker, the
Mm-hmm.
Impact of Influence series. I think you might have had him on your podcast before. Chip's an
I did.
amazing guy,
Chip is
um,
incredible.
who we met via LinkedIn.
Mm.
The
Wow.
LinkedIn connection, social media. Anybody can tell me how terrible it is, and da, da, da. You know what? If you use it the right way, it is the
Mm.
most incredible platforms to be able to truly connect people if used the right way.
Mm-hmm.
If used the right way to build solid relationships. And that's what Chip and I were able to do about 5 years ago, was to create a solid relationship, never meeting him in Texas, me in Florida, right? And then fast forward 3 years, I was able to get him over here to Tampa, um, to showcase his book and come in and talk to some of the nonprofits that I work with here, the youth, and it was amazing. But through that experience of writing in that first book, the Impact of Influence series, I think it was his second volume
Mm-hmm.
or third
Hmm.
volume, because it was with all females, women.
Wow.
Right? So I
That's
got to be
awesome.
a part of a really cool network. And then I was in his fourth volume and then his fifth volume, because when Chip asks, you can't say no much.
Yeah,
You just
I
can't.
agree.
Okay.
100%.
And through that experience, I met Charles because he was one of the authors in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And then Charles reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm starting my own series. Would you be interested in being a part of Concrete Connections?"
That's
And I
awesome.
said, absolutely. That's how we all met here, was through connections. So it was a natural progression to want to write and gift his readers, right? And our networks with the idea of what it means to truly connect with people and how we can, make this world a better place by connections and building solid relationships.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that 100%.
yeah.
Now, I heard you talk a little bit about health and wellness. I am a big proponent. I was like 260 pounds at my biggest to 198 pounds at my smallest
Wow.
to now I feel really healthy. I've done all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
But you had actually pinpointed about how you had actually moved into kind of a nutritional space. So actually making
Yeah.
sure to not only do it for yourself, but do it for others. I would love
Hmm.
to hear how like nutrition has actually helped you in your journey because I feel like the nutrition actually helped me in my personal development journey. It almost felt like my brain was a bit less foggy, and I felt like I had more energy. What have you maybe found in your sort of nutrition and health journey?
Yeah, I never realized how stressed I really was. And when I say stressed, I don't just
Mm.
mean in like my mental stress, but like the physical stress that takes over when you are working 24/7. You don't feel like you turn it off. When I worked for the city, I had two phones strapped to me, my personal phone and my city phone. They were on 24/7. And I'm like, it's parks and recreation. We're not saving lives here. I'm not firefighting. I'm not, like, this is crazy. I'm on a vacation. I'm worried about what's happening back with one of my parks. Like,
Yeah.
what? Right? So you don't realize what that stress does to you and how inflammation becomes the precursor to every disease that you have. And inflammation is lack of sleep. Inflammation is the air that we breathe. It's called oxidative stress. And so I became educated in understanding how the body processes work
Mhm.
and why I was feeling the way I was, why I wasn't able to turn my brain off at night when I went to sleep. Why, now I put my head on the pillow and I go to sleep. I don't care if it's midnight or 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. My head, I go to sleep. And if I only have 6 hours, it's a quality 6 hours. If I have
Mhm.
eight, awesome. It's a quality eight, right? And I'm able to wake up in the morning and know that I can be a productive person without the inflammation, without all the stuff that was raging in my body, because this is there's natural solutions to making it work. The company we're with is pretty amazing. I mean, they have scientific proof and all the good stuff, right?
Mhm.
I'm a pretty skeptical person. So I was kind of like, what? I'm going to do what? But the more I thought about it, if I'm going to be healthy, don't I want my mom to be healthy? She's 86. I want her to live to be 100. And what about my neighbor? And what about this one? And what about that one? And it's like, it just became a natural progression as I believed in the science, the company, it's publicly traded, all the things, right? For me, that was big. It was big. I was like, wait a minute. I can legally say that this company reduces inflammation by 40% in 30 days with a certain product. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And I can legally say that. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to stand behind that. I'm going to put it to the test myself, and I'm going to have my family do that first.
Mhm.
And so the first year was just putting it to the test because I wanted to poke holes.
Mhm.
I'm just going to take it. I'm going to poke holes. And I
Mhm.
couldn't. And so through that process, fast forward, I've been a part of this company for almost 12 years,
Mhm.
and it's just gotten better. The science has gotten better. The people have gotten better. My community has gotten better. When we talk about supersizing, it's truly, my health is in a whole different space, as is my family's. So nobody can poke a hole. I'll talk to any doctor. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. Right.
Mhm.
That I have the armor that protects me, and that I want others to feel the same way about your health journeys, right? And I
Really?
want others to understand that through that health journey, I've been able to create income,
Mhm.
right? That a lot of people are lacking. Maybe you
Mhm.
only need 300 bucks. That's awesome a month. I wanted more. So I
Mhm.
put more emphasis and energy into that process
Mhm.
because I want something more. I'm sitting in a home that I can say helped this journey help close that gap for this home to be purchased. Like, that's good stuff.
That's
And
good.
I don't say that to brag. I say that to say I am super excited to be where I'm at because I'm able to enjoy my life in my terms with my hours, like you. Like, here we are at whatever day at 11:30 in the morning because I choose to do this.
Mhm.
And I didn't have to get in the car and fight traffic at 8 in the morning to go where I needed to go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a solution for me and could be a solution for a lot of others.
Mhm.
But some people just got to open their brains. Some people go, it sounds a little too hokey. And I'm like,
Mhm.
sorry for you.
Mhm.
It works for me. And I would love for it to work for more people.
Yeah. What amount of your mental clarity and ability to sleep and do things like that do you think came from also the what would the right word be? I guess maybe more of living life on your terms too. I remember when I was working my job and I was driving like 2.5 hours to work every day, then 2.5 hours back, not eating well was a part of that because of the journey
Yes.
that I had to take and sitting in meetings and pizza parties and all the other stuff. I feel like the process of doing more of what I enjoyed helped a lot
Yes.
in some of my mental clarity too. What do you think about that?
100%. I believe it is a complete, they work hand in hand. It's not
Mm,
one or the other, right? If my body is not functioning in the best way, I'm not going to want to do those things, right?
mhm, mhm,
So my body's got to be functioning and clear in
mhm.
order for me to be able to say, yes, I want to go do something, right?
Mhm,
Something
mhm,
different, right? So you've got to be able to take the leap to do that.
mhm,
So my mind was getting set and ready to go because I knew my mind, I was sleeping better. When I sleep better, I go, why am I doing that? That makes no sense. Why am I doing like you said, the 1 hour drive or the 2 hour drive, or I'm on a vacation and my phone is blowing up from back at work. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't do anything from where I'm at. I'm in Las Vegas. I was there for a conference and my phone's blowing up for an event that's happening. I can't do anything, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, there's people there that can work
Mhm.
and take care of it, but I couldn't even unplug.
Mhm.
So you're absolutely right. When you have the freedom to make choices and when you have the freedom in your space, all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
and can I tell you that you make do with a little bit less money? I did early on. I
Mhm.
made do with less money. I figured it out. I did because my mental clarity and health was way more important to me than what my financial health looked like on the front end. Now I can claim both of them well,
Mhm.
okay? And it took a journey to get there. It just really is. It's like, where are people's propensities to kind of learn and be in the space to be able to open to understand that there are some better ways, there are some options.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be all at once, like, whoa, oh my gosh, there needs to be that thought process on the front end, which you and I
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
Lay the
you.
groundwork.
I've been working on apps for 10 years. Like people ask me all the time how I built the latest app, Focus on Words, and doing Wrote by Me and stuff. All of this is many, many years in the making. It isn't just, it wasn't one day that I woke up and all of a sudden it was like, it's over. I'm good. Financial freedom is
Mhm.
now. It was a journey. And there were some times where it was very questionable, where I was like, maybe I should go back and do what I was doing. But I always did have a belief that I could figure it out. And I'm still going through the process of figuring
Mhm.
everything out. But I
100%.
mean, it starts with the belief in yourself. I do want to ask you, so um, for you, obviously you have a vision and a goal for yourself, but it sounds like you do care a lot about others too, and actually being able to gift back to others. What
Yeah.
would you say is your dream for reality? Like, what is a dream
Mhm.
that you have about, I guess, maybe the potential of what you would want to see or even be able to help achieve for reality?
You know what? I want to help, and I'm going to say big.
Hmm.
I'm going to think big here. That's
Okay.
one of my mantras is to think bigger, do
Hmm.
bigger. You can
Hmm.
become bigger. Like, that's one of my mantras.
Yeah.
And in that supersizing space, right?
Hmm.
So I'm going to say I want to help 100 families,
Hmm.
100 families become more financially independent
Hmm.
and be healthier in the process.
Mm. Okay.
100 families, right? Not one or two. I've been able to say, I'm glad to say I've helped five,
Hmm.
okay, become that financial independent space where they're like, wow, this is where my journey is really taking off.
Hmm.
Health wise, it's been more than 100. I can tell you already. I know that, right? But
Hmm.
I want the combination because I really believe that when you are in a space where you don't have to think about when is my car payment due? When is my this due? Do I have to choose? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Those are the things that really kind of to
Hmm.
hold people back.
Hmm.
So to have that combination of health, but also some financial health too,
Hmm.
to me that's super important because I think that will calm a lot of what's between our ears,
Hmm.
inside of our heads, that
Hmm.
cause the mental stress and strain. And you hear all the mental health issues that folks are going through.
Yeah. 100%. Now,
Yeah.
I actually like to ask a question that I feel like people don't ask as much because you've spent a lot of time
Okay.
talking about how you want to help others. But for the people who are listening, what could we do for you? Like, what are you in need of right now as you're going on your journey?
Oh, what am I in need of? To be honest,
Uh-huh.
it's folks that are open,
Hmm.
that would love to learn more about what I do and what we can maybe do together.
Hmm.
Because uh, see, when I say I'm a servant leader, I truly am. Like,
Hmm.
for me to gain anything, it's for me to serve others, and
Hmm.
in that I receive. So
Hmm.
it's a really interesting. So when I get in front of a lot of student athletes and I talk to them about that well, as they're gaining this knowledge from me, I am soaking so much from these young people, they have no idea. Like, I
Hmm.
walk away from every single one of those experiences going, I'm a better person. Like, I'm feeling good.
Hmm.
And it's not because I got paid for the thing. That's great. But it's a different feeling, right? So when you say, what can the audience do? Like, reach out to me. Like,
Hmm.
say, hey, I want to know more about this. What is this stuff that you have? What
Hmm.
what is this? What is this that you do when it comes to network marketing? Who is your company? What is it about? What can these products do for who? Like if you have somebody hurting and struggling in it, send them my way. Like I want to help them in the process, right? If you got athletes who are saying, "Hey, listen, coach, I want an edge." I got your answers. I do, right? Because I know what these products can do in that space, but I
Mhm.
also know there's a lot of people who are trying to make ends meet,
Mhm.
right? So I can help in that journey, right?
Mhm.
So when you ask what, I mean, I'm here as a in service to whoever is listening. I also coach. I talk a lot about leadership development, and if you're looking to unlock what you need in your space, maybe the network marketing space isn't for you, but I can unlock some things and help people find their true journey and path. That's what
Mm.
I enjoy doing, and I have a propensity for it. I've been able to coach lots of folks on my journey, and who knows? Maybe there's some more coaching in me for someone that's listening on the other end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that could
people
be
are searching
incredible.
and they just don't know where to look.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I think a lot of people don't always know where to look. I want to ask you a couple quick questions. So, what is what would you say is the biggest inspiration in your life?
Biggest inspiration?
Hmm.
Don't make me cry. My mama.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Why did she inspire you?
Ooh, 86 and has more energy than most 26-year-olds. Let's just say that.
Mm, wow,
Okay.
that'll do it.
Yeah. The woman worked 67 years of her life. 67
Wow,
years of her life, and she's still giving back. Like,
that's incredible.
yeah. And yeah, that's a huge inspiration for me. Like it makes me want to do better and more and continue just growing. So when you
Hmm.
talk supersizing, that is a huge inspiration to me. Um, so yeah,
That's
I think
strong.
that yeah, it is strong.
What are your what would you say are your top three books? Like your
Mm,
favorites?
top three books.
Hmm.
Okay, that most of them are self-help books. Okay, The Four Agreements is number one.
Classic.
Four Agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz.
I
Easy read, but hard to do, my friend.
I literally just did
Oh,
a book review. So let's see if we can get it. The Five Levels of Attachment is a book by his son. So he's actually started like carrying the mantle. He has a book called Mastery of
no.
Self, Mastery of Love, The Five Levels of Attachment. I love those books as well. So just so you know, in case you didn't know, Four Agreements is incredible. I agree, but we now have the Fifth Agreement, the Mastery of Self, the Mastery of Love, and the Five Levels
Yes.
of Attachment. So
I love it. I
absolutely love
love it.
that book. All right, we got
Okay.
one.
Okay, we got one. Emotional Intelligence 2.0.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Um, if we can't be a more emotionally intelligent society, we are in big trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the four: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. You tell me we don't need more of those four things.
I can agree with that 100%.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So that I love. I
Hmm.
use that a lot in my coaching space, whether it's with young athletes, coaches, parents, anybody that I am in front of, that I have the ability to kind of educate on that space. I love that journey. Um, Man, and the third one's going to be a tough one because I do like to read. I mean, you see some back there. Um, you know what? I'm going to throw this out there because we started off on this entrepreneur journey and we talked about this. The
Hmm.
Big Leap. The Big Leap.
Big leap.
Super easy read, but oh my goodness, it talks about when you get to the space of your zone of genius, now you know you've arrived. Because most people hang out in their zone of excellence. What does the zone of excellence look like? It looks like, when you go to work and you know exactly what you need to do, everybody's moving and grooving, and that's great. That's called comfort zone. I was in the zone of excellence for a long time. In most of my careers until I said, wait a minute. I think there's more for Jessica. And
Mhm.
so I am leaning into this zone of genius, which is doing what I'm doing. Looks different for other people because guess what? I was the straight A student. I was the top of the class. I was all of the things that you're supposed to do in the little box.
Mhm.
I could have lived there for a long time. I was really good. I was really good in those spaces. That was not my zone of genius. I'm living it. I'm in it. I'm working in my zone of genius right now. And I know that. And I got to stay here. So how
Mhm.
do I stay there? I hustle more.
I feel that. You know what's interesting is I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. So I in growing up was really good with sports and then like with school in general. But then after I was done homeschooling, I went to high school and college. I was completely out of my like zone. Like I actually ended up almost coming into my own because of how much I didn't fit into the process. So as hard
Mhm.
as I tried, I actually was not where I actually feel like was what was it, the zone of excellence? Like that's
Zone
was
of
that what you were
excellence.
making a point of?
Yep, zone
Yeah.
of
So
excellence.
I
That's
just
what you want.
struggled. Like I was
Mm,
outside of my zone of excellence for the majority of my time
mm,
basically after finishing high school, and I
mm.
just constantly felt like there was something missing. I was doing all the things the way I was supposed to, hey, go to college, do this, do that, follow the process. But like in that process, it was just painful. It was super painful for me. So for me, going through all of that, finally I just was like, I got to do something else. And it was actually pretty tough. A lot of family and friends were just like, you're going to quit your job and build apps. Like, how do you build an app? Do you really know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? For the most part, family was loving, but they were very confused as to how I was gonna make any of this work because no one
For
had
sure.
done that before in my family. So it's interesting. The whole point of the podcast is to talk about the different perspectives. And so I think it's
Yes.
interesting to hear your perspective and then for
Oh,
me to maybe
thanks.
be in a similar space, but from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
Um, how would you what's the best way for people to get in contact with you? I'll add it into the description, but what would you say for some of our like shorter clips to let people know?
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm on social media. DM me, private message me, depending off your Instagram or Facebook or even LinkedIn. I've made some
Hmm.
incredible connections through the LinkedIn process. So those
Hmm.
areas I'm always on, if you will. So shoot me a message. I love to be connected through there. I also have what you've built out for me, which I love. I
Mm,
love, right? So we're going to start be
yeah.
using that app that you've created for us. I'm sure you can
Yeah.
explain it way better than I, but I'm looking forward to that. I do have a link tree and all those things that folks do, but really, I love messaging, right? And
Mm,
I love to do this one-on-one kind of conversations and Zooms with individuals, virtual coffee chats, whatever you want to call it. I don't even drink coffee, but virtual chats, if you will,
mm,
are super awesome in order to be able to make connections, see if there could be a collaboration. And if not, maybe that connection will lead to something else for each one of us. We may be here and then pass through and go somewhere else, or we may be here and sit for a while. I mean, if, just reach out. I mean, you don't know until you try, right? You
yeah.
don't know. And,
Agreed.
and to me, that's the most important thing. So, yes, I use my social media a ton. That's the best way. I do have
Mm,
a website and all that, but I like this way better. Way better.
I feel that. When we sort of finish up the podcast, I like to leave sort of with a space of affirmation. So, what would you like to leave the people with to remember you for, as well as maybe even a reason to reach out to you after hearing some of this?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this. Jessica J. Lo Perez is your supersizing catalytic coach, right?
Oh, wow.
I'm here to supersize, create some catalysts of whatever you want in life. I want to help people be better. So, looking forward to that journey, right? Looking forward to the journey together.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. You are absolutely amazing, incredible, sensational. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation, and thank you for letting it run over a little bit. I know that I ran into some technical difficulties, but we got
Okay.
everything figured out. Again, thank you for being here. This is the Rope by Me podcast with our guest Jessica J. Lo Perez. Make sure to reach out to her. I mean, she dropped some incredible gems throughout, and we look forward to staying connected. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Bye for now.